Good morning, Ray.
Hey, good morning. How you doing, Heather?
I'm doing perfectly well.
Good, good. I
Enjoying
love your
this
background, and I actually have snow outside. We actually
nice.
got about a little dusting of snow last night, so uh,
I'm
definitely we
jealous.
may have a white Christmas here in Denver.
Oh, that would be so nice. Houston, it's only enough because it's been so dry. The trees are have some yellow and orange leaves on it, which
hmm
I've not really seen here before. So,
Yeah, not the
kind of looks
norm.
like fall. Hmm.
Very cool. Well, good, good. Well, hopefully, you've gotten all your Christmas shopping done and
Yep.
not waiting to the last minute.
I usually wait till last minute, but it's actually all done. It's the first
That's
time
good.
ever.
Yeah, no, I think we're pretty much done. Now we're just trying to find a few little things here and there, and I think we agreed to maybe go to the mall tonight after dinner, just to go
Oh,
and see what we need to get. So, but nothing important, super critical. So that's good.
there you go.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah. So, but
So we're winding up the year. This will be our last Thrive Live for
yeah.
2023, and wanted to share some of the trends that you and Jason have published and put out there that you
hmm
believe will be important for next year. Um,
Yeah, no,
just share my.
definitely. I mean, 23 has been an interesting year. Lots of challenges for
Mm,
organizations. Lots of uncertainty, and I think 24 will probably be in that same ballpark. So I think yeah, we think these are things that we want to focus on, that organizations should start thinking about as they plan for 24. Um, and a lot of these are kind of right on target. I mean, with clients that we're meeting with.
hmm.
We met with a client yesterday to talk about AI and recruiting. Shared with them a demo of a really cool product that we think is really uh, valuable for organizations that can you know they can do kind of screening interviews, automated screening interviews, save recruiter time, better candidate experience, and it was part of their planning for 24. They're looking at different options. So this is really top of mind for a lot of HR leaders.
Yes, and I know this time of year is crazy
hmm
for HR leaders, HR teams, and want to make sure that while all that craziness is going on, that we don't lose sight of things outside of new programs and reviews and things of that nature to ensure that we're on top of what's
Yep.
going to be
No.
happening next year.
Nope. Exactly. I mean, these are we did an article on 2024 AI themes, things that
Mhm.
we think about, things that are going to happen in AI. But this one here, these are some of our top six trends that we think is going to happen or going to be happening next year. Uh, a lot of it driven by employee demands and employee sentiment. Uh, some of it driven by um, you know organizations needing to be more efficient and to focus on their teams because it's still tough to find people out there. Organizations are still. I think the last number I saw was 9.8 million open positions across
Wow.
the U.S. So because of that, uh, that still tells us that there's certain roles are still tough to find, and if you've got folks, you got to find ways to keep them engaged and keep them in the organization. It's lot a lot better for the organization. A lot saves you a ton of money and productivity time. Taking care of your people versus letting them leave.
And we have seen that, the good old COVID thing that's, I believe,
hmm
past us. And so I've seen everywhere companies making changes and reverting back to pre-COVID, which
hmm
isn't necessarily a good thing, but it's a matter of cost savings and still a lot of layoffs going on, even though there's a lot of open positions and
hmm Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I think companies are still trying to figure out their post-COVID uh, organizational model. Uh,
mhm.
And some companies kind of went a little crazy during COVID and hired a boatload of folks, did a lot of
Yeah.
acquisitions. And so now they're trying to figure out, okay, did we do the right thing? Are
Mhm.
we able to integrate those acquisitions? Have we been able to uh, be more productive with and actually deliver the results with these extra people? And and a lot of organizations have kind of said, well, we probably need to do some adjustments and
Yeah.
reduce staff, and it's still happening. I think even over the last couple of weeks, which used to be kind of in the HR Bible, it was you never lay people off in December.
Mhm.
The worst thing you could do from an employee brand perspective, from a company brand, it's just not something you did. But now companies, all those things are kind of out the window, and they're
Mhm.
making announcements, laying people off, uh, and cutting staff. And one individual that we work with was notified, their last day of work is, the week of Christmas. So, uh,
Mm.
it's just
Gosh.
like, gosh, that's just harsh. But we're starting to see that happening, over and over again. I think Spotify announced a bunch of layoffs. Uh, you know, and other companies are doing the same thing. I mean, here
Mhm.
locally in Denver, uh, Broadcom, I think, did a big acquisition, and they, as soon as the acquisition closed, they laid off, a ton of G&A staff here locally in Denver. Uh,
Wow.
so, that just got announced, in this weekend's paper. So
Mm.
it's still happening. Organizations are kind of prepping for 24, and I think it's still going to be a tough market, and depending on the kind of business that you focus on.
So, Ray, why don't you walk us through each of
Yeah,
these 6 trends and what we mean by this?
yeah, sure. I mean, that sounds great. I mean, the first one is around, pay transparency, uh, and this one, you know, for organizations that aren't, kind of taking this to heart, it's a real problem from an employee perspective. A couple of things, in many states, pay transparency is a requirement. When you post a job, you've got to
Mhm.
post a salary range. Also, if you decide not to do that and not to post jobs, I mean, I've had, some companies that I know of where they basically their strategy is, if I have an open position, uh, I'm going to post it on my internal website, uh, and in states that don't require pay transparency, and
Oh,
those that
really?
require pay transparency, I'm not going to advertise in those states, which is
Hmm.
kind of an interesting approach. But companies are doing that. Uh, and the reality is, if you post, a software engineer job, uh, and you don't put on the salary range, there are 100 other software engineering jobs with the exact same requirements, and those all have salary rates on them.
Mhm.
So employees can figure out very quickly what's the rate of pay, and what's the range for the role. Also, many states, um, you know, are basically telling you you can't ask what a person is currently making, because uh, many organizations have used the approach of, hey, if you're making 100, I'll give you $15,000 more, even though that's at the bottom of the range,
Mhm.
and that's going to be a great offer. The reality is, um, organizations need to pay for the job, and for the person
Right.
moving into the job, whether they're low experience, median experience, or high experience, that's how you pay them. And that's what employees expect, and that's what they want to know. And if you, as an organization, are a little, fuzzy on that and can answer that question correctly for a candidate, they just will basically stop talking to you and go somewhere else,
Mhm.
because I think
Yep.
that's that they'll show their displeasure with their feet. They'll just ghost you. Won't reply to text, phone calls, or emails. or LinkedIn messages. So there you
Mhm.
go. What are your thoughts on that one, Heather?
I agree, and even, in recruiting, that's no matter what level of the position, that's one of the first questions, and we've gotten to a place now where people are not afraid to say, "Hey, before I spend any time with you, I'm gonna know what the range is so we don't waste
Hmm.
anyone's time."
Yep, exactly. The second one, on our trends is really, that talent really is a competitive edge. And a lot of organizations in the past have looked at talent as a kind of fungible resource, an unlimited resource where you could, if one leaves, you can find another and plug them
Mhm,
in. Everything works great. Uh, so, that's the reality of what people think. But the reality now is, um, if you really, uh, you've got to understand your organization. You've got to understand their development needs, as well as, succession planning. And I was having lunch with a friend of mine a couple of days ago, and and this exact, we had this
mm,
an exact, conversation about this. He said he's supporting an organization that doubled in size. They don't understand their talent and what they have. And he was,
mm,
trying to get some ideas on what he could do to help them not only, you know, do good performance reviews and really identify their top talent, and then also put in place development plans for that top talent, and then, collect all that data and then do succession planning. So organizations need to do that. If you're not, it's going to be really tough to um, to be successful and ensure that you've got the best talent, to go out to the market and win. The other part of it here is, you know, uh, top talent usually is engaged talent. And
mhm,
the studies have shown if you've got an engaged workforce, they will give you that additional 20% of extra effort that can make a huge difference in your amount of sales, in your profitability, in your efficiency. So
mhm.
that's really a big one that organizations need to focus on.
And it's odd because 'cause I've seen also some things come across when we talked about reverting to the pre-COVID of,
Hmm.
companies saying, engagement, we've really been focusing on that. We're gonna pull back."
Hmm.
And my thought is, "Oh my gosh, you've now spent 2, 3 years focusing on this, and then you're gonna ghost your employees,
Hmm.
really, and
Yeah.
say, 'Yep, we really cared about you, but now not so much.
Hmm.
Um, we just need you to get the job done.'"
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yikes.
And I think the other example there is, organizations have said, we're going to be remote. You can always be remote.
Mhm,
This is our model. You can come into the office when you want, but you don't have to. Now, you know, all that has changed, and CEOs are saying, I've got all of this office space that I'm committed to. I want to see eyeballs and butts and seats, and
mhm,
and employees are just really really having a hard time with that. Number three here around employee feedback and engagement. Like I said earlier, if you've got an engaged workforce, um, you're going to have the competitive advantage. And employees want feedback. They're asking for it. So if you are not doing regular one-on-ones, at least monthly, where you talk to the employee about, how they're doing, how their projects are coming along, and also carve out a amount of time in that one-on-one to talk about their development and how you can support them.
mhm,
That's huge. Uh, Employees are getting the feedback and they understand, kind of what they have to do. That really that drives that engagement score tremendously. And I think the other part of it that's really important is, employees really want to know, kind of what's my role, what am I responsible to deliver, and what are the goals, and how does that tie to the company's mission? So as a manager, you have got to, really, focus on that because you know, uh, I'll talk to people and well, do you know what your role is and what you're expected to deliver? No. It changes
Yikes.
month to month. Do you know what your goals are for the year? I mean, what are and do you understand the company's mission? No, not really. Really don't understand it. We sell a product. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure how it fits in,
Mm.
in the market. I mean, so all of that, those kinds of comments are just not helping you as an organization be effective.
No, and the opposite.
Yeah, exactly,
It's just a
exactly. I mean,
job for a paycheck.
yeah, and then you're not getting any extra effort whatsoever.
Mhm.
Um, you know, the fourth one on here is around diversity, equity, and inclusion. Uh, this one's a tough one. I mean, there's a lot of political things going on around DEI programs, and and organizations are starting to kind of get a little more wishy-washy around their
Mhm.
initiatives around this. And at the end of the day, the reality around this is, if if your organization doesn't look like your customers, and you've got to be able to answer why that is, not only to employees but to your customers, you know, that's going to be a problem. And hiring a diverse workforce, making sure everybody is, that the programs and policies are equitable, and people are included and not excluded, only drives your performance as an organization, and your profitability. And I think this one's going to be tough. I mean, it's really, uh, you know, this one may kind of ebb and flow throughout the year,
Mm. Mhm.
in the organizations that really, kind of take this to heart and really focus on it. I think will be much more better off at the end, than those that kind of just, say, you know what, uh, you know, I'm reducing staff. First roles to go are diversity. Anybody in the diversity team is gone. Anybody in the training
Yeah.
team is gone. And that's exactly what happens.
Mhm.
So folks got to be really careful about that.
I even saw today, I think on HR Drive, that,
Hmm.
some organizations, which I agree with, depending on obviously the role, are doing away with the requirement to have a bachelor's degree so they can, um, expand on these initiatives.
Hmm. Yeah. No, exactly. I think a lot of organizations are, kind of rethinking their
Mm.
basic requirements for roles. An undergraduate degree and MBA used to be kind of the, basics, before you could
Mhm.
kind of get into a professional level role. Now that's all changing. Now it's all about, the capability of the individual.
Right.
Can they do the work? Can they deliver the results? Do they know the systems and the tools, to be effective? And not necessarily, a degree is going to be a starting point. So I think that's exactly what's
Exactly.
happening. You're once you kind of think about that and think about roles and whether or not they need them, then you can really really open up your pool of candidates
Mhm.
and start to bring in some more, diversity, gender diversity as well, which is important. And and I know a lot of roles that when you really think about them, do they really require an undergrad degree? I mean, if you're an inside salesperson, as an example, and really kind of your role is to understand the product, understand your internal systems, and being able to communicate and track people down to talk to them, to get an appointment. Uh, that doesn't require an undergrad degree. I mean, so so
Mhm.
start thinking about the roles and the people that can do those roles. I think that's really
Mhm.
really important.
And
So
the skill set, I would like say that,
yeah.
just because, um, someone has an accounting degree does not mean that they're good at accounting. It could be based on their experience and skill set,
Hmm.
but,
Yeah. Yeah, the
you
best
know
comment I ever heard was, how many years of real experience does that person have? You know,
Mhm.
do they have 5 years of experience? You know, and one of those years is just 15 years of the same thing over and over again. 1 year of
Mhm.
experience doing the same thing. So so really think about kind of what people have done and how they can help you. The way that our recruiters look at at talent acquisition. We're trying to find reasons for people to interview and for people to be considered. We're not trying to knock people out. We're trying to find more people to build that pool so that we can hire the best candidate. And we're not trying to exclude folks from those positions.
Mhm. Exactly.
Yeah. Um, the whole, number five, the whole remote work optimization. This one, companies are continuing, to what I call uh, stub their toes, on this
Mhm.
one. I've got one of my children, works for Amazon, and Amazon, came out and said everybody's got to be in the office, and just blasted it out to everybody. Uh, you know, and my daughter is in sales, and all of a sudden, the follow up email an hour later said, except for people in sales, they can still continue to work remote because they're either traveling or trying to meet with
Makes
clients.
sense.
So that's like an example of a big company who really usually has their stuff together, kind of making a mistake. Uh,
Mhm.
and we've got the list of CEOs that said you'll never have to come into the office, and that have reneged on that one, is probably a page long, you know, in small font. Uh, you know,
You're
uh,
right.
so I think organizations have got to figure this one out. A couple of things that are really important here is uh, you know organizations are thinking that they have the upper hand, that it went from a employee market to now it's more of an employer market because of
Mhm.
layoffs and other things. I mean, the reality is, you know, uh, you know, flexibility wins. To get the top
Mhm.
talent, you've got to offer that flexibility. And study after study has come out. You know what? I'm a top performer. I will take a lower paycheck to have the flexibility of managing my own schedule.
Right.
If 3 years of COVID didn't teach us that, people, have gotten re-engaged with their family, like being, involved in their kids and family activities, want to be able to, you know, shut down, go and pick up the kids, walk the kids home, take a 15-minute break to do that, and then get back online versus being in the office. So, that flexibility is huge. And when I get a chance to walk my grandkids, to the to school in the morning, there are lawyers, there are salespeople, there are software developers, working for all of the big
Mhm.
companies, from Salesforce to Cisco to you know to Amazon to I mean you name it, it's a who's who of companies that folks work for, and they're not going to give up the chance to walk their kids to
Right.
school and then get back to work, and then you know go get them at 3 o'clock, and then kind of jump back online. So that flexibility is huge. Uh, and you know, employees are going to determine where they want to go and where they want to apply their skills. So companies have got to figure this one out because just because you have office space doesn't mean you have to have people in the office all the time. Uh, and I think that's the real challenge for organizations is many of these companies have spent you know billions of dollars in these, campuses, especially in Silicon Valley, uh, to entice people to come into the office. And guess what? You know,
Ooh.
my
Yeah.
my coffee, out of my, Keurig is just as good as Starbucks. My, I can, I can get better, access, as good of access on my internet as I do in the office. So those are the kinds of things that companies have to think
Yeah. Maybe it might be time to let go of that lease of that building.
about. So many organizations
Mm.
are subleasing and moving to smaller space, uh, and a lot of it is just being driven by, you know, by this one factor of
Mhm.
flexibility.
Yep.
And and a lot of the organizations that are opening up new space are making it much more you know uh, accessible for drop-ins, for hoteling, uh, so people can collaborate when they're in the office, and and really kind of changing the way you're not going to have an assigned cubicle or office anymore. That's just not the way it works.
Mhm. Exactly. Now, so
So
how about number
yeah.
6, the AI and recruiting?
Well, that one, I think one of the things I think we wrote about is that is that we think that next year, a major company will hire somebody who doesn't exist because of AI. An AI generated bot will get a
Mhm.
job offer. Um, we also think that next year a company will post a job because of AI that doesn't exist. Because because they don't have that, they're not curating what they're doing. So
Mm.
AI can get ahead of itself, but at the same time, companies have got to start to think about utilizing some of these different tools to be more efficient. Uh, if you can have an AI enabled chatbot, coordinate interviews with a candidate, uh, it's
Right.
such so much better than you know somebody having to track somebody down via text or phone to schedule something and then schedule it on somebody's calendar. I mean, if AI can go out and look at people's calendars, and knowing that, offer up some options to the candidate can answer, the AI sets it up, and you're ready to interview. So I think organizations need to think about that. Also, you know, there are tools out there. I mean, we're working with a company, Dial Me, that basically can do screening interviews for high volume positions. So instead of a recruiter having to track somebody down and ask them, "Hey, can you work nights? Can you lift 50 pounds? Can do you have reliable transportation?" Some of those knockout questions. Uh,
Mhm.
you know, why not let AI do that and let the recruiter only talk to people who are qualified and are interested in the role? So I
Right.
think AI and recruiting is going to continue. Uh, there's some really cool startups out there that are really trying to figure out ways to you know to go out onto the web for an opening and basically scrape every available website to find candidates, not just LinkedIn, but
Mhm. Right.
GitHub, where people post good software code, Facebook and Instagram and other social networks where people talk about what they do, articles, blogs. I mean, that's really kind of the next generation of recruiting is
Mhm.
looking at the entire, web to find folks and then bringing them in uh, and say, okay, here, you're looking for a software developer, in downtown Denver. Here's your list. Go talk to them and see if you can convince them to apply for the job.
Mhm.
So I think
Yeah.
things like that are going to be happening more and more uh, from a recruiting perspective.
Oh, yeah, and cutting down on that sourcing time. Holy smokes.
Exactly, exactly. So, but no, I think there's going to be a lot of change coming in 24. There's going to be some economic challenges. I'm sure. The economy looks really positive going into 24, but interest rates are still high. There's still things have gotten more expensive. I don't think everything's going to go. Once they get expensive, they never go down. Uh,
Yeah, unfortunately.
uh, unfortunately. But I think there's going to be a lot of interesting things that'll happen in 24, economically, politically, in the global environment too, with all the things that are happening. So, uh, you know, all of those factors kind of can affect the employment market and how organizations react to that. So, I think having a good plan, but also you know you're going to have to adjust as you go based on what happens in the market uh, economically, politically, and globally.
Mhm.
So that's the other part of it that we really recommend thinking about this and being having that agility to be flexible because you're going to have to be to meet your the demands of the organization.
Yeah, in the marketplace, and we've helped quite a few organizations do this. Things change year to year, and,
Yeah.
if, you're in a place where you really need to analyze where you're going and what things look like for
hmm
next year, gosh, we can help.
We'd love to help you. I mean, we work with organizations on a daily basis, helping them solve problems, helping them become more efficient. Uh, and if you've got things that you haven't done, get to them and figure out how to get them completed quickly, because you never know what can happen. We've
Mhm,
been working with an organization and helping them, improve their employee data, uh, improve their policies, understand kind of what's happening in the company with contractors as well as full-time staff. And all of a sudden, there was a CEO change, and guess what the CEO wants? Org charts, turnover data, information on their employees
mhm,
by country, by role, you know, and we just happen to finish all this work up, which Heather did a bunch of it. You did a bunch of it,
yep,
and that HR leader looked like a shining star, being able to
yep,
produce all the data within minutes, not within
mhm,
weeks.
right,
Think about that from an HR perspective. If you're a leader, and you don't have good data, you really, are struggling, you know, do it sooner than later because this is a perfect example of, if we had not helped them do that, that HR leader would have looked terrible in front of the new CEO, and
mhm,
you do not want that to happen.
yeah, yeah,
All
we
right,
can make life much easier, better, more efficient, more
E-
organized, whatever
exactly.
that need is,
Yeah,
um we can help
yeah,
out and got our emails scrolling at the bottom again. This is our last show of the year, but we'll be back at the beginning of January and hope that everyone has a wonderful holiday season, can end their year off well. But if you need help, we're here to help.
exactly. Please let us know. Just give me a call again, Ray at thrivehrconsulting.com, and then Heather.Simmons at thrivehrconsulting.com.
Exactly.
Check out our website, and thank you for listening and tuning in to our LinkedIn Live show. And everybody have a great, great Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Yep. See everyone next year.
All right, take care.